Welcome to Co-op Mode, round 62. This is the official video game podcast of Secret Friends Unite. I'm your host, Todd Oxtra, joined by my co-host, the Canardian Mark Carabin. How you doing, Mark?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Great weather. Did a lot of stuff outside. When you're old like I am, though, it means you're probably sore from doing all that yard work, but I have a 15-year-old son now, so he's been helping me take down fences and do things like that. So, but it's great. I love the weather. It's nice to be outside, especially now that I'm vaccinated. It was so funny. I went out to grab drinks with my neighbor who's also vaccinated. And in Minnesota, everything's so wishy-washy right now with the policy. Basically, it's like, well, if you're vaccinated, you don't need a mask, but then the signs still aren't cleared what to do. So it's very awkward. Yeah, it's very weird, but it was still nice to do that. I found out he's a fairly new neighbor and he's big into video games, so we've just been having fun checking in because I don't know about you guys, but I'm of a little bit older generation where not everybody played video games. I grew up with very few friends that played video games, so finding people of my age now that play video games and talking about them is a lot of fun versus talking about golf or cars or doing those things or yard work. So it's kind of fun.
I think I'm on the kind of cusp of that, but I'm super happy. I just got my first vaccination shot, so the next one's a few weeks away. But awesome. But very happy. It's been such a slow rollout up here. They've been going by age groups, and they finally opened up 30 and over. So yeehaw! It was pretty good. So and ended up getting that on Saturday. Things aren't opened up yet, really. We're in another round of lockdowns after being so good for so long. It's so frustrating, and I'm happy that this isn't a video game podcast because I feel like my hair is just a rat's nest, and I need to get out and see people or something. But it's great to talk to you guys, and I said you guys, so that might be a hint of what you're gonna do next time.
Yes, you heard a voice in the background. You hear him laughing now. Cam Hawkins. Wow. You've heard him on Podcast Unlocked. He is a freelancer. He streams, and he is now a married man. Cam, welcome to the, I guess you would call it the alumni of the Married Men. So welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for reaching out. I'm always down to go on to a podcast and talk about video games, big or small.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. I heard you on Podcast Unlocked on IGN. Mm-hmm. You were fantastic. Had a really good viewpoint. And what I like about you is you're not just focused on one platform. You play old games, new games, and you experiment. And you're all over the place, which is great because you just get a broader perspective. So love that. But we want people to know you a little bit more. So just Sure. Tell us what you've been up to with your job and kind of like where you're at currently.
Yeah, so right now I'm just more or less doing freelance work for IGN and some other things that I can't announce just yet. But it's cool. It's like kind of like a dream come true. Just growing up and being always being close to video games. I got to a certain point, like I don't know if it was like late middle school, early high school, where like I discovered IGN and I started like following like the people, like I knew the personalities, like when Mitch Dyer was at IGN and like when, Greg Miller, Naomi Kyle, like that older class of IGN staff. I was just like, man, I really want to be in like one of those chairs talking about a game. And I we don't see really any black people working at IGN or being like a face there. And like that's like something that I've always wanted to become a reality for me. And, for the longest time, I just like never, it was just like, it was like a pipe dream, you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, like this is ever going to happen. And it, just starting to just like being a part of like the Kind of Funny community. Like a lot of people started to support me there when I like when I started doing journalism at Dual Shockers. I went to school for journalism, things like that, and I just kept on getting support, and I still am kind of confused by it, but you gotta take what you can get, and now I've been on Podcast Unlocked for like, I was on there for like 10 weeks straight. I've been on Podcast Beyond before to talk about PlayStation. I still need to get on NBC though. Still need to get on
Absolutely.
NBC. And again, IGN is like the dream. Like that's where I want to work full time one day. And just knowing that I have so many people that would vouch for me that work there now, and like I personally have like talked to Tina Amini, who's the editor in chief there, and things like that. It's just like, I don't know, it's wild. I think about it all the time, and I'm just like, how did I get here? Because I only started video game journalism 2 years ago, like a little over 2 years ago, and I've already gotten to this point. And I still personally think I have a long way to go, but it's still like, I think I have made a significant amount of progress within that time. And yeah, it's just wild. And I'm incredibly thankful and humbled by all the love and support I've gotten from people in the industry. That's how I got to where I am now. And just like when it comes to games in general, I basically like, I know I dabbled with a bunch of different older consoles. Like I remember at a point, I think I got an NES and an SNES, but I really don't remember or have much memories of that because I don't remember my parents really buying me games after actually getting me the console. But the first real console gaming device that I really dove into was the Game Boy. The Game Boy was the first like real system where I was playing games consistently and like got new games every year to play, and that's where I discovered Pokemon, obviously, and then the Game Boy Color, which is still like, it's definitely my favorite handheld ever, like to this day. Like I love the Game Boy Color. That's where I discovered Pokemon. I think that Pokemon, specifically Pokemon Crystal, I think that game like established me into gaming. Like this, like it was the game that made me like turn into a gamer, where I was like, I want to experience different gaming types and things like that. I mainly grew up on the PlayStation 2. The PlayStation 2 was like my main console growing up until I got to like the 360, and I still like dabbled in other systems like that my friends had, like the N64, the OG Xbox, the PlayStation. Like, I played still a little bit of that, but those were like my consoles growing up. And since I got to the Xbox 360, I've been primarily a player on Xbox since then. And I love the Xbox ecosystem. I do think that like each system has something to offer, and I just love video games.
Todd, a fellow Pokemaniac and someone who likes Xbox, are you kind of nervous right now, or like Cam and I going to take this over? And
Mark, really, come on, really... if you know anybody that knows more about Xbox or Pokemon than me, I'd like to meet him. Just kidding. Well, I have a game that will kind of probably tell a little bit more about each of you. So I'm going to present something to you. Okay. Mark's not aware of this.
No.
So it's a little game of rent, buy, or return. Can you even return video games? So digital, you get like a 2-hour return. So that is going to be the presentation. So
sure,
this is what we're going to throw at you. So we are going to go Halo 3.
Ooh.
We are going to go Uncharted 2.
Okay.
We are going to do Metroid Prime.
You son of a bitch.
So rent, buy, return. I didn't say kill them. I think that's kind of ridiculous. They have to kill a franchise. It's
essentially FMK, and you're just a mean individual. Ken, you want to take this one first? You got to ruminate and think about this one, because
it's just kind of hard because I haven't played Metroid Prime. That's the one game I haven't played, but it is also one of the like top Nintendo games that I want to play. Especially with Metroid Prime 4 coming out, and I'm sure we're gonna get the trilogy as well ported to Switch before then. And I played Uncharted 2, and Uncharted as a series, I think is a little bit overrated personally. I actually prefer the Tomb Raider reboot more than Uncharted. And so I definitely buy Halo 3. Halo 3 is, if I looked really quick, it's probably, because I have a list of like my top 50 games of all time, it's probably in my top 15. Like, I love Halo 3. I think it's the best Halo game as a collective. Like, I think that Halo 2 has like the best campaign, but I think that when it comes to multiplayer and like just the whole experience that Halo 3 is, I think Halo 3 is the best Halo game. And so that's hard buy, easy buy. And then after that, yeah, I would probably say 13th favorite game of all time as of last time I ranked my games.
I kind of need to see that list. That's like I don't keep a list of my favorites.
I can share you the list once I'm done here. Because here's the thing, like I do it once a year, just to, like at the beginning of the year, I was like, okay, these new games came out, let's like sort things out, and I relook at the list. I'm like, okay, like how I feel. Because here's the thing, at the end of the day, like most of your top 50 is completely dependent on the day, right? You're just gonna be like, the day that you make it, you're like I'm looking at something right now where like I placed Borderlands 2 right above Halo 3, right? And like at that time I did that, but today I would be like I would put Halo 3 over Borderlands 2. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of like it's like when you look at it. So but yeah, Halo 3 again, one of my favorite games of all time, probably one of my favorite multiplayer experiences ever. Yeah, so by that, I would say I'm gonna say rent Metroid Prime simply because like knowing what Uncharted 2 is, and I still think Uncharted 2 is a good game. I could live without playing Uncharted 2, and Metroid Prime I just haven't played. That I'm just curious that I would rather just rent it and then return Uncharted 2 hypothetically.
Well, you could have said just return Metroid Prime because it's in my backlog to play it when the HD remaster comes out. That would have been the safe play.
Oh, okay. I didn't know it would work like that. Then
we could have said backlog or return. Maybe backlog's a better one. I don't know. I'm open. This game is not hard set. Like I haven't sold the rights to it. So
yeah, I would probably do that then. I would say like return Metroid Prime simply because I'm waiting for the Switch version or something like that.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna buy Halo 3, and I think I very similar. I love that game to begin with, but also I think buying that one over any of the others just for multiplayer because you want to own that game, you want to keep playing it. So my rental of Metroid Prime is going to be based on I can play that game and beat it and be done with it and not revisit it for a while. And I could do the same thing with Uncharted. You beat it, you're done with it, right? I'm not going to continuously play that one. And I love that series. That is one of the series that got me to buy a PlayStation 4 and play through the entire quadrilogy.
Yeah. Actually, with the was it Deluxe Legacy? There'd be 5.
I did play that on my Vita. Yeah. So
and Mark, you love a half tuck shirt.
Yes. Yeah, of course. Yeah, sadly I'm going to return that one. So my list is the exact same as Cam's, which is fun. But I still think you're just a cruel man, Todd, because this is they're 3 absolutely fantastic franchises and really putting Halo in the top spot because of the multiplayer. And I put so much time into Halo 3's multiplayer. I forged friendships there. And, that was to me like when I broke out of the Nintendo sphere that I was in since I was friggin' 4 years old, with my first NES controller. Like, so Halo 3 to me is very, very special. And that has to be a buy. But Metroid Prime especially was just like blew my mind when I first played that. It was like, how do you take Metroid and turn it into 3D? And they did that, and just what they were able to do with the GameCube hardware of when you shoot, you get that reflection in the visor, and just these subtle little effects that we still don't have that kind of stuff in like 4K HD games where you're in a visor, but they still don't have that level of detail or like just little things that Metroid Prime did so well to put you in that atmosphere. So I don't want to say it's a better game than Uncharted, but yeah. I'll leave it at that, I guess. So, same kind of thing. Todd, I'm curious what your.
Ooh, that's a hard one. That's a hard one because I do love Naughty Dog, but I would say I actually probably like 4 better than 2, even though everybody loves 2. I just love the way that series culminated. Just my mindset, but I also loved Lost Legacy. I loved seeing that series.
I enjoyed Lost Legacy. I didn't like 4, but yeah, I think a lot of the stuff that story did felt very shoehorned in, like very like I feel like we would know about a lot of this in the first 3 games, right? But I don't know. In unpopular opinion, Uncharted 3 is my favorite Uncharted.
Oh, okay.
So I know that's an unpopular opinion, but I think that game has like the most memorable set pieces and things like that, and I think that like Uncharted 2 specifically, it's like, oh, the train segment's so good. I'm like, yeah, okay, well, tell me what else about the game. And then people are like, oh, nothing really. I'm like, okay, well, I can, with Uncharted 3, there's like the boat, the ship, there's like the skydiving segment. There's like so many great moments in that game. But yeah, sorry to interrupt.
No problem. But 4, I love the Jeep mission, the Jeep where you're driving the Jeep around, exploring, and then with your it was pretty cool. But also the Crash, when you play Crash Bandicoot. Come on, that was why. Come on, you played Crash Bandicoot on the PlayStation 4 with Elena. That was pretty cool.
That was good. That was a good bit. That was
very fun. So I'm gonna do this a little differently. Halo 3, that's a buy because you can come back for multiplayer. I think that is kind of the pinnacle. When Halo 3 and Gears 1 came out, I don't think Xbox has ever hit that pinnacle beyond that. It was just so fresh. You finally realized Halo what it could look like, multiplayer, and everything just culminated. It was so cool. The big battles and just, the scarabs, so cool. Playing it online with friends finally made sense. It was so good to have good voice chat, doing those things. It just really cemented it. So that's Halo 3 is excellent. Then I go with Uncharted 2 for my rent because, like you said, you're complete. You're not going back to it. I think they finally added multiplayer in 3, I think, but 2 didn't have multiplayer, so I don't think so. And then I'm returning Metroid Prime because I'm still mad at that game. I could never beat like the final boss, and I was so pissed off. Never did it to this day, so I'm waiting for Retribution. So I will wait until the HD remaster comes out with actually a better controller. I did not love the GameCube controller, and I just think it was kind of a limitation.
What? No, like the GameCube controller?
The GameCube controller is a Frankenstein piece of
no,
that was designed around one game.
No, after the Elite Series 2 controller, the GameCube controller is the best controller ever made.
Okay.
Charles fired. Cam, permanent co-host here.
No, I bought that. What is it? The Switch GameCube wireless controller to play Smash. Trying to use that controller on any other game though. It just doesn't feel right. That's why
it's not quite as many buttons, but man, you can't beat the layout of that. The sticks were fantastic. It had analog triggers, so you could actually pressure sensitive. Come on, man.
I love for Smash.
I'm so disappointed in you right now, Todd.
Mark, can't be disappointed if you've never been appointed with me. Appointed? Just been appointed. Nobody ever says that. I've been appointed by you. Yeah, doesn't make any sense. I don't think it's a word. Oh, well. Well, we've gotten to know Cam a little bit better. And then, of course, we've got the, I guess, betrayal by my partner here. So we'll move on to what we've been playing. So, Cam, man, I don't think I've got a more eclectic group of games that I've seen in front of me for a while because I'm not even sure where you actually can play your first game.
Yeah. So the main game I've been trying to get through in the past 2 months, I would say, is Persona 3, which I'm playing on the PlayStation 3 because it has some, there are some PS2 titles that are available digitally on the PS3, and which I'll be bringing it up next. I've been playing through the Ratchet & Clank series for the very first time. I've never played a Ratchet & Clank game. So and the first 4 games are really only playable via as early as the PS3 with the Trilogy Remaster and Tools of Destruction, but all the other Ratchet & Clank games are on PS Now. So so because it's not my PS3, it's my friend's PS3. Even though I told him that if he ever sells it, sell it to me first because I will buy it off because I have more stuff on this PS3 than he does. Like it's ridiculous. But
is that the backwards compatible version with the PS2?
No.
Okay.
It's just a digital. It was a digital purchase.
Okay.
And so I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna be playing on this PS3 for a while. I've been like, Persona 3 has been like one of the top JRPGs on my backlog that I've been wanting to play. I was like, I have access to it. It could get ported soon, but it's one of those things where I have to play it twice regardless because there's a male and a female protagonist, and the game is different depending on which protagonist you choose. So I know I'm gonna have to replay it regardless. So I was like, oh, I'll play it the one time while I have this PS3, and then play the female protagonist route once the eventual port happens, because I think it's going to happen. So I've been playing that, and I'm right at the end of the game. I'm on the last month of the calendar, and right now it's just kind of I'm just kind of grinding to get to because like I don't know if you guys have played a Persona game before, but which you absolutely should.
Well, my son has beat Persona 5 twice now.
Okay, that's
with the rail. So I've lived it through him, and I actually bought PS4 Golden on PC, and I'm trying to get him to play that.
I personally think Golden is the best Persona. Like out of 3, 4 Golden, and 5 Royal, and I think 4 Golden is the best.
Okay.
But it really just depends on like what you want out of a Persona game. Because I do think that like Persona 5 has a lot of quality of life improvements. But I think that the story and the characters, which is what I go to a Persona game for, is best in 4. So yeah, definitely recommend playing that. That's actually this is from Persona 4 Golden. It's like the store. And yeah, so I'm currently like just at this point where I'm trying to get through the last block of Tartarus. So like in Persona 4 and 5 you have like dungeons more or less. Like in 5 they're called palaces, but in 3 it's basically like a giant tower that you're scaling. So I'm on the last block of the tower. And I need to beat like 3 more mini bosses before I fight the final boss at the end of the month. So like I'm basically just grinding hardcore, and I'm trying to beat the game by Friday. So because that's when SMT3 drops, which is the next big JRPG I'm going to jump into. So Persona 3. Yeah, Ratchet and Clank. I've played through the PS2 trilogy at this point, and I'm currently on Tools of Destruction. And man, in hindsight, I'm super mad I did not play these games as a kid, because they are so good. Like these games hold up incredibly well. Like the first game is a little rough around the edges, because there's like no strafing, which is a big like important thing for Ratchet and Clank games. And some blueprint things like that. But like even then, like it's a solid like 8 out of 10 game, I would say, and the story was really good. And then they just kind of, at least for the PS2 trilogy, they kind of just got better. Like Going Commando and Up Your Arsenal are both like equally good for different reasons. And yeah, I started Tools of Destruction. It's fine so far. It doesn't have anything that really stands out. But the plan is to play through the rest of the Ratchet and Clank games by the time Rift Apart comes out, and then I'm gonna stream Rift Apart. I'm super excited. I'm a huge fan of that series now. Like I remember when I was younger, there would be kids that would either be like, you're either a Jack and Daxter kid or you're a Ratchet and Clank kid.
That was me.
And I was a Jack and Daxter kid, right? So I was just like, Ratchet and Clank, that's for poor, like that's like the poor man's Jack and Daxter. You know what I mean? I was like, that's the poor man's Jack and Daxter. I don't need Ratchet and Clank. Man, I couldn't have been more wrong. Like all the games, like at the very least, you're gonna get a fun 8 out of 10 like third person shooter. You know what I mean? Like that is like the worst case scenario of the Ratchet and Clank games from my experience so far. It's so good. And the last game I'm playing is The World Ends With You, which is a JRPG on the DS. It's on Switch too, but if you're looking to play that game, I highly recommend the DS version, because the Switch version is not really the same. And it kind of, because the Switch version is a port of the mobile version, and so it really messes with the mechanics of how the game was originally built. Like The World Ends With You is one of those games that was like it was developed for the DS. Like it was supposed to be like
right? You're
the
playing
two
between
screens,
them. Yeah.
the stylus. Like that's
what I was going to say. That touch too, and
yeah, that's what the mechanics of that game were for. So if you can still get like a new copy of The World Ends With You for like a reasonable price. Like you're not like gonna be paying more than what the retail for that game was. Like I think I bought mine on Amazon for like $35. So not bad. Yeah, I just started that. It's not a super long JRPG. It's more on the shorter side, like 20-25 hours. But I'm playing it for the first time because the sequel comes out in July, Neo: The World Ends With You. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And yeah, that's all those are the main things that I've been playing. I've been dabbling in other stuff too that I really can't think of off the top of my head right now. But yeah, those are the main ones.
I was thinking about that with Ratchet and Clank compared to Jak and Daxter. We have not seen Jak and Daxter, I think, since like Agent Clank on the PSP, and that series just disappeared. Which is so disappointing because I loved what they did with that series, and I would love to see it come back. Get it like a Blue Point Games maybe to remaster that. That would be pretty awesome.
That'd be great.
Yeah, it's funny that they have left that dormant. It's you know, it's not like there's so many of those kind of games out there. You know, I mean, Ratchet and Clank came back in a big way, but Jak and Daxter, what's the other? The Sly Cooper. Those kind of mascot franchises have really kind of gone to the wayside on the PlayStation front. So it's kind of weird to see that they just flipped a coin and went with Ratchet and Clank, or someone had an idea so they went with that one. But I really wonder if there's some kind of pitch for the other franchises to come back eventually, or if they're kind of waiting, because it seems like Ratchet and Clank is super successful. The PS4 one was amazing. The PS5, the new one coming out, looks fantastic.
Oh my god, so good.
And
it looks so good.
It's, you know, like it's kind of weird. Like I'd love for them to show some other mascot franchises that same sort of love, right? It's a weird vibe over at PlayStation Land sometimes.
Yeah,
but I appreciate Ratchet and Clank coming back.
It is kind of funny because you think about that, where Nintendo really rules is they've got all ages game, and they can just sell to any age group. Sony and Xbox can't always do that because they've got mature titles and things like. They're always going to be limited. You know, everybody can buy a Mario game, but Last of Us 2 is not for Mark's little, 1-year-old. So it just doesn't work. So you can't. My first Last of Us is not going to work for everybody. So it kind of makes sense that they would develop more of those franchises. I'm glad to see them not leave that behind. And I think we're going to see that with a game Mark is going to talk about, which I actually have played as well. And Cam, maybe you played it as well.
Well, before I get into that game, I am going to say that Finn has found the Xbox button, the X button on the controller, and he realizes that when he holds that in for a second, the TV turns on and something happens. So that is his new favorite button in the house, because now, like, it was kind of that, like, he'll press the button and something will happen, but now, like, he presses the button and he looks at the TV, so it's like that cause and effect, and he knows like what he's doing now, which is hilarious. And the other day he fired up Day of the Tentacle Remastered, so
nice.
He really, I guess he wants to play some old school point and click adventures. But I took the controller from him and played another Game Pass game that just came out. That's Psychonauts. So really cool to get back into this. I'm not super far in, but it is a cool throwback. I never really played all of this game. I dabbled. I started it a few times back in the day. I think I even had it on like my computer at one point, possibly. I think it did come out for like Mac, PC, and everything else. So I've started this game a few times, and it looks and runs really, really well on Xbox Series X. And it's one of those games that just makes me very thankful for Game Pass, and I can't wait for the next Psychonauts game that's coming out. So I feel like this is a little refresher, and for a lot of people, I think probably the first time they're getting to play this, because it's an Xbox game, not even a 360 game. It's an Xbox game. So at some points it does show its age, but at other points it's like, man, this, they had some stuff figured out back in those days. So yeah, it's really good. Cam, have you ever played Psychonauts?
I have not. I know that there are some people that stand that game is like one of the greatest games ever made. I definitely plan on playing the first one before Psychonauts 2 comes out. Like, that's definitely going to be a stream game. That's kind of what I do with streaming, is that I use it most of the time, not all the time, to kind of catch up on old games that I've been meaning to get to. So I will once there's a release date for Psychonauts, which I honestly think Psychonauts is probably going to drop in August, Psychonauts 2. Once that's announced, which will probably be whenever Microsoft's E3 presentation is, that I will make that a priority to hop in and play through the first game, because I've heard very, very good things. I heard that's a very special series.
For sure. What now? I want to get your opinion on this one. I'm just going to throw it out there into the universe, because I love when stuff happens like this. What if they say, and it's available today, you can download it on Game Pass right now during their E3 conference in a few weeks? What if they just kind of surprise drop Psychonauts 2 in Game Pass? Are you going to be ready? Or are you going to wait and play the first one and get accustomed to it and leave the sequel? Or are you going to be tempted by the shiny new thing on Game Pass?
I would still play the first game first. It's a game I need to play, and I think that if I did play the sequel, I'd feel less obligated to want to go back and play the first one. Right. But I don't think, hypothetically, I don't think that would happen, just because it was a Kickstarter game, and now like that there is like, those that back the game, they want to make sure that those people get the game first or at the same time as everyone else. So I don't expect that to be a thing, but I think that we will get, whenever the release is, like, it'll be enough time for them to make sure that like all their backers are taken care of as well.
Yeah, for sure. So the next game, actually, Todd, do you want to touch on Psychonauts a little bit before we move on?
I remember. Yeah, I played it multiple places. I think I owned it everywhere. It's a great game. I finally just actually got back to it again, just like you guys, or like you, Mark. And at this point, I beat the first boss. It does have its nuance, and it's funny when you hit some of the controls, it shows you the OG Xbox controller, the Duke, which is kind of fun. But it's got nice save points. It's very easy to get into. It doesn't feel dated like a lot of platformers do in that sense. So I think it's very easy for people to get into it. I mean, it looks pretty good. But don't expect anything mind-blowing. But it feels less dated than other games that came out at that era. So I think it's well worth checking out.
For sure. So moving on, I'm still absolutely obsessed with Pokemon Snap. I'm nearing the end, I think, of my initial playthrough of it. But this game it's got its hooks in me. I don't know. I said it last time. I didn't expect to love this game as much as I do, but even this morning, I was like, I have a couple of minutes. I got up a little early. I was like, a couple of minutes before I go to work, I'm going to play a run of Pokemon Snap. And I had to jump in and just take some more pictures of some cute little weird creatures. And it's I don't know, man, it's awesome. I love this game.
I still can't believe that's not an iPhone game. I really feel like there's nothing that the Switch is bringing to the table that your iPhone can't do in that setting. So it just seems like you don't need camera controls of the buttons and things like that. It's just so weird. And the Switch doesn't have a camera.
There's so much more. There's so much more to this game than it's not like a cheap little mobile throwaway. I guess you could do the only real way I could see this working is some sort of AR, maybe like where you're actually walking or something on your phone. Yeah. I don't think this would work well as a phone game. Maybe it would, but I don't know. It fits the Switch up a controller really, really to your well. Phone.
Good to go, Mark.
It's like it's an interactive safari. It's an experience. It's a mystery as well, because you have to figure out how to make certain Pokemon appear.
Only Nintendo can get away with charging $60 for a game like this. This would be like a $15 digital release for like Digimon Photo Camp. That's what people would pay for, but it's Pokemon. Make it 16. Buy your photo printer
into that game. As Nintendo put into this one, I'd check out pictures of cute Digimon too. Cam, have you played this one?
I dabbled a little bit into it. Like I did like the kind of like first hour or so. Mark's right. Like this game has a lot more depth to it than I expected it to have. And a lot of variety and features on what you can do and the type of pictures you can take and like things like that. Like, and it's a gorgeous game too. Like, I definitely think that I think the $60 price tag is more or less warranted. Like, you know, I get like, because it's a photography game, it's kind of hard to sell that, I would say, in most cases, but with Pokemon, like it makes sense, and it's been highly wanted, and I think that like people prove that with, you know, they prove that with their wallet. It's selling very well, and hopefully like we get sequels to other Pokemon spin-offs that we should been having forever, like Pokemon Pinball. Please give us Pokemon Pinball.
Yes. And Metroid Pinball while they're at it. Metroid Prime.
What is it, the Gale of Mysteria or whatever that was on GameCube? I don't know. I'll come up with another name. That probably makes sense.
Yeah,
I'll just come up with a Pokemon game, and it probably exists. But yeah,
I like it.
It's just funny though. Like, you think about these Pokemon games that are coming out. There could be a photo mode in a Pokemon game that could essentially do this, right?
No, because it's a guided thing. You need to play the damn game, Todd. You don't understand the majesty that is a guided tour.
No, you're not going to sell me on it, man.
Pokemon biomes.
I have no patience for that.
Okay, all right.
Pokemon Go. Pokemon
maybe you'll dig the next game that I'm going to talk about, and that is this is probably going to be a lot of people's game of the year. This is big AAA stuff. But it's also something I'm not sure if a lot of people have heard about this game. So I really want to sing its praises and make sure people are aware of Solitaire.
Tell me more.
I know, right? It's low key indie, but I think game of the year material. No, I'm just joking. I have been playing a Solitaire game, and it is good. But the reason I wanted to talk about it is just to once again reiterate how much I love Apple Arcade, because this is Solitaire Plus on Apple Arcade. And once again, I have been so broken by mobile games over the years that when I play this Solitaire game, I'm waiting for an ad to pop up. I'm waiting for some stupid little thing to pop up and be like, you know, like light the goblin on fire and save the princess and do whatever horseshit this is, or watch this 30-second ad for more coins or something. And this is none of that. It's just Solitaire Plus. There's different skins. I looked at the skins, and there was still like no – I could just pick a new one. I was like, what do you mean I don't have to play 70 hours or pay $30 to unlock this extra like card pack? I can just do it. And it's just a great Solitaire game, which is great to have on your phone. But I just love that Apple Arcade is slowly changing how I think about mobile games, that I'm not expecting those gotcha mechanics or constant little coin packs or this or that or whatever. It's just like, hey, do you want a solid Solitaire experience to play on your phone for 30 seconds or 3 minutes or 3 hours if you really get caught up in Solitaire like my dad does? It's just such a solid experience. And I just appreciate Apple Arcade, and we're going to talk a little bit later, Gamepass. So I thought Apple Arcade kind of fit into the conversation that we're going to have later, and I wanted to touch on just Solitaire. I just really appreciate having a Solitaire game that doesn't just ping me every 3 seconds looking for money. It's just great. So thanks, Apple Arcade. You guys pulled a 180 and stopped just trying to focus on new games and gave people what they want, which is cut the rope and friggin' Solitaire. It's great.
Mark, I'm trying to get Charlie in the bandwagon for Apple Arcade to play the Star Trek game. It's there, that exclusive. Yeah. He loved the Avengers game that was on Facebook. It was a Facebook game with Avengers, and he loved that. It's exactly the same thing with Star Trek. I think he would love it, but you may have to convince him, because he doesn't listen to me anymore, because it's free for a month.
Yeah, I really want to get into for whatever reason I haven't jumped into the Oregon Trail, maybe just because living through a global pandemic.
Tell him you'll play a Star Trek game.
Maybe
that'll get him really excited.
I don't want to die of dysentery. But yeah, I maybe that's how I'll convince Charlie. Like, Charlie, if you play this, I'll play it too, and he'll be all like, Mark doing something Star Trek? That's impossible. Anyway, yeah. So this is I don't know, man. Apple Arcade like really went from something that was just kind of a tab in the App Store to like, I friggin' love this. Like, it's good.
Well, I'm giving you homework. Next episode, play Wonderbox on Apple Arcade. I've heard it's excellent, but I heard it does probably require a controller to really best experience.
Well, I have. That's why I still have my Xbox One controller. So let me click Get on my iPad Pro right next to me here, and there we go. Downloading as we speak. Wonderbox.
The pitch, it's like Captain Toad, where you rotate the world. But you've got little guys that actually can do more than just walk. They can jump. They have they have enemies and things like that. So I think you'll get a kick out of that.
All right. It was a great way to play Fantasian. I played that was a couple months ago. I think I talked about it on the show. And
I want to play that so bad.
Yeah, man, it was really, really good. Like a great experience with the Xbox One controller, my giant iPad screen here. Just being able to take that around and plop this massive screen wherever. But then I also have my mount, so if I really wanted to, I could play it on my phone. But I like the iPad experience for those kind of games with like a controller or whatever. But I'll tell you that mount between Apple Arcade games and xCloud finally coming to iOS devices, like best, like, what was it, like $10 or $15 I ever spent. It's really
although mine doesn't fit my Series X controller. It fits the original Xbox One.
Almost.
Yeah, it's just
Series X controller. It's just a little bit off. Yeah.
It's very weird. Very cool. Very cool. Well, I'm going to speak about a PS5 exclusive, The Returnal. But I'm going to tell you a sad tale of Todd not being a very good gamer. This game, though, I will tell you, this is I would say this is a prestige roguelite, not a roguelike, I guess. It's the best way to turn it. So basically, you're going to die a lot. You don't carry over much progress. You do carry over some upgrades, but your weapons and things are kind of random. And also the layout of the level, or they call it biomes, there's 5 biomes in this game, change. So like you go through the front door, the level, now there's like rotating levels almost, will change. So you may be expecting bat enemies. Well, the bat enemies aren't there because it's now weird tentacle beasts or a weird Groot-like creature or other things. So it's like you never know what you're going to expect. Life is like a box of chocolates, and this is like this game. And then you get currency, which buys you upgrades. You find like these parasites, which you can grab and put on your body. They give you enhancements, but they also degrade you a little bit. So it's a very weird mix of like a gamble of what you want to do. And then you do find different weapons and attributes you can get. And so it makes it very interesting, but it's a beautiful game. Housemarque, I've heard it spelled both ways. They made like a lot of games on PlayStation, like Superstar Dust HD, games like that, typical twin stick shooters. Well, they decided to make a very beautiful game. You look like you're Brienne of Tarth in a spacesuit. You crash on this planet, and
wasn't that just Captain Phasma?
Kind of, yeah. I don't think we ever saw her face though. And you travel across, and you find weapons. You try to beat these beasts, and basically solve a mystery of why are you finding dead corpses of yourself on this planet? And as you die, you come back every time. You don't know why you're coming back, and you basically can get things off your corpse, use it again, and then you do find different weapons, and they have different attributes, and you're not always guaranteed to get the same ones every time. So it's very much, you could get a good build, and it's awesome, and you're doing great. The next build could be crappy, and you get a really stupid, revolver, and it doesn't work very well. So I got to the first boss like 3 times, but I lasted like 3 seconds. I spent 5 hours in the game, died like 12 times, and while I enjoyed it, I just realized there's no way to save in this game. So basically, your run means you have to get through all 5 biomes. When you get to the second biome, you get a shortcut. So you don't have to go all the way through it. So you do things like that. But I only got to the first biome, never got past it. And just means that your run could be long. And that's the other part. This is a roguelite where it's not like Hades where a room or a run can take you 15 minutes. This could take you 5 hours. And if you die at one boss, you're back again doing it. And you can put it into rest mode if you want to stop and do something. But it's safe. If your buddy says you want to play some Avengers online or something like that, you're hosed, because PlayStation doesn't have quick resume. So it's a very weird thing. I think Housemarque feels. Yeah, and that's the problem. I think we understand it's difficult. Maybe a mid biome save would be helpful, because you're not taking away from the game's difficulty. You're just making it reasonable to play. Because I mean, Cam, you're going to realize this when you get older and you have kids. Life happens. you're in the middle of an awesome moment, and then, honey, dinner's ready. Hey, I need a diaper changed. Honey, your son just puked on me, and you got to step away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to run upstairs last night. Literally, we were playing Fortnite, and I heard Finn start to go off upstairs, and my wife was asleep, and I had to kind of just put the controller down, and I luckily we were inside the storm circle, and I just said, like, boys try to keep me alive. Like, that was it, right? Like, it just, that's sometimes the way it shakes down, right? Like, so that description for me is just like, nope. Whole big pile of nope. Like, I'm
hopeful, and this is a really good one experience. It's a $70 premium experience. It's a beautiful game. It feels premium. The DualSense is amazing. You can feel every raindrop on the controller. Mark, I was wearing the Pulse 3D Pulse. You feel in your headset. It's like
that's not just a leak in your roof.
No, it's not. Thank God.
All right, cool.
No, it's like immersion you've never had in a game before. I appreciate that. I'm glad that we're getting this new type of thing versus more of the same, but it looks better and faster. So I like that. But yeah, it's definitely not for me in its current state. If they added some quality of life improvements, I may go back because it is fun. It's just frustrating, and I don't love getting beat down by my games. Life is hard enough. So but I like to experience it. So I played that. But now I'm playing something where I'm also getting beat down, but it's a little bit more manageable, and that's RE Village, Resident Evil 8, whatever you want to call it. Playing it on PC. I just want to give you a little background on how I actually started playing this game. I actually pre-ordered this game on Stadia. I got the Stadia Pro Edition or whatever for free, so the controller and the Chromecast Edition, because I'm like, I want to try this. I want to see what its experience is. I have a 1 gig internet speed. It should be fantastic. So I started playing on my PC. It looks pretty good. It's still capped at 1080p on Stadia unless you pay for Pro, which is 4K. I had a horrible experience. The visual quality was not good. It was like almost like a weird texture was on people's faces. Stuttering and lag in an action game like that where werewolves are trying to kill you, it does not work. So I don't know why. I've struggled with it's funny because I played PS Now on my PlayStation 5 and had a great experience streaming Ratchet and Clank into the Nexus and other games like that. But this was, going off my PC, and I thought it was going to be perfect. I'm like, nope, it was horrible. So I ended up returning the game, and I did it within the first 2 hours. So I basically got my money back. But I felt guilty because they sent me this controller and the dongles. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll try it again in the future. It's an investment. But then I got it on PC. I'm loving it. It's really phenomenal. It looks beautiful. My monitor, it maxes out at 1440p. That's how I'm playing it. Frame rate's fantastic on a 2070. It's really fun. And this is a game where it's creepy and the sound is really good. I'm using wireless headphones for the sound, and you hear these steps. It's like, is that me stepping or is it somebody there? What's going on? And there's these creepy vampire ladies and all this fun stuff. And I've gotten past the first boss, which there are lords.
Is creepy the right word for the tall vampire? Is that the word you're going to go with?
Well, take a poll and buyer beware if you want a creepy lady that's very tall. Mark, she's like twice as tall as I am. That's scary enough. So
that's the dream, Todd. That's the dream.
That's true.
According to the internet. I don't know.
Yes. But I tell you, if you were scared off by Resident Evil 7, this one is not as scary, but I do like what it's doing. The quality of life, those elements there are very well done. But it is weird to be like in this weird Eastern European country and everybody speaks. They sound like they're from Canada, which is very odd. I mean, I don't know. But say a boot and sorry. Yeah. But it's very weird.
She'll kill you. The tall vampire lady will kill you. She'll apologize afterwards.
Yes, she's very polite.
Offer you some bagged milk and some maple syrup, but she'll still kill you.
Yeah, I would say the biggest surprise so far was they allow you to kill like wildlife, like fish and pigs and chickens. And I was entering a building, and all of a sudden this pig attacks me. I was not expecting that at all, and I got my revenge and killed it, and I had some ham.
Perfect.
Yes, so it's very fun. I like it. It's a very fun game. That's going to be the game I play next, and I just got Mass Effect Legendary Edition. from GameFly. I bought it from GameFly, actually. So, like, all in, I spent $35 for that game. So I'm very excited about that, playing on a PS5. So I cannot wait. And hopefully I can talk my son into experiencing Mass Effect for the first time.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
We'll
Mass Effect is... You can't... It's so hard to sell Mass Effect without spoiling, like, what makes Mass Effect so great. But it literally, in my opinion, is the best trilogy of video games. It is, like, so good. And then that's actually something that I also started playing over the weekend that I forgot to mention. I started Mass Effect 1, and man, it's so good to be back there in that universe. And I actually also played Returnal, and I actually beat it pretty quickly.
Oh, thank you, Cam. I feel so good about my gaming ability.
No, I beat it. So I just decided, well, because going into it, I thought it was going to be a longer game because people that got the game early said, oh, it took me like 30 hours to beat it. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then I think I hit credits at 13 hours, sure. and I was just like, wait, that's it? Like, there's technically like another, like a true or like secret ending once you hit credits, and I haven't done that yet, but I did hit credits. And so yeah, it took me took me 10 runs to beat the game. And yeah, it was 13 hours, and also just maybe to help you possibly like give it another shot in the future. Once you finish the third biome, after that you basically finish that part of the game. You don't have to go back to the first 3 biomes, and then the last 2 are it's like a second half, if that makes sense. So and then once you beat that part, it's the post game stuff. So there are like technically like 3 different parts of the game so hopefully like that'll make you a little bit more inclined to give it another shot. 'Cause, like, it's not my game of the year at this point. That's still Persona 5 Strikers, but like it's right there at number 2. Like it.
Nice.
I would be relatively surprised if it's not on my top 10 by the end of the year, just because of how much I love that gameplay loop. Because I'm one of those people that I like hard challenges in video games. Like I enjoy playing Mass Effects on insanity, because I'm crazy like that. So I think, I definitely think you should give Returnal another chance. I know that you guys don't have as much time to play games as I do, but it's a great game.
Well, my son wanted to try it, so eventually I think when he tries it, I'll get his impressions. And once again, I'm not averse to revisiting games if they do some things to make it worth my while. But yeah, I could see where, I think I got to the first boss eventually when I got rhythm down, like within 45 minutes. So It's not like when I said I played 5 hours, that just required me to die a lot to get there. So, Cam's always just making me feel better now. So thanks, Cam. 13 hours, what do you say, 10 deaths? I think I had 13 deaths in 5 hours. So yeah.
That's fine.
I'm better at dying than you. Yeah, I'm better at dying than you.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Take that.
Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses, Todd.
That's absolutely. I'm very good at dying. So moving on, we got a question from little Henry Nias. He asked us, are we getting Miitopia?
Nope.
Okay, we got a note there from Cam.
You know what? I'm leaning towards no as well. I am, of course, going to check out some reviews. If there's a demo, I may check that out and see if it grabs me. There is a demo. Is it out now?
You play it right now, and you're saving all your progress transfers.
See, the only thing that I've been focusing on my Switch is Pokemon Snap, so I haven't even backed out of that game in like weeks. So I'll check out the demo. I'm not opposed to it, but A, RPGs aren't usually my thing, and B, I don't know. There's just something about this game that's not catching me right now. But it looks like really funny, which if an RPG has some humor, like the Super Mario RPG series or Paper Mario games, sometimes they'll catch me in. But if it's not a Pokemon game, usually RPGs have a hard time unless there's a good humor loop to it as well. So maybe I'd love to hear if Henry picks this up, how he would sell me on it. So Henry, if you're listening, and you pick up this game, tell me why I should get it, and maybe I will. This
game is a perfect game for like I can give you experience, a 12-year-old boy, because Logan just absorbed this game. Because you can design all your party, you can take all of their Miis, make them your party. You can make Will Smith the bad guy if you want, and because you assign all of the characters, good, bad, your party mates, and they basically perform for themselves. And the Mii creator for this game is like on a level you haven't seen. People can make the Mona Lisa. A Mii can be a Mona Lisa, and it doesn't look like haphazard like on the Wii. So, but yeah, my son loved it, and he's so excited about it, which is surprising because he's a 15-year-old jaded kid who's only playing Destiny 2 or Osu, which if you know what Osu is, parents, God bless your heart. It's a weird rhythm game from Japan where all these J-pop songs, I'm like, I know them by heart, and that should not be something I know. But oh well. But yeah, so Logan will definitely be getting this, and when Logan's got his first vaccination, actually, that I underscore that he's got his first one, he's going to get a second one, and when he does that, we're going to have company over, and maybe Henry and little Logan can play together. We'll see.
Awesome.
I don't know if there's online or not, but oh well. And Cam, I won't even divulge into the Miitopia question.
No, it's just like, I don't know, like I have a vast, when it comes to like physical media, like I always buy like my Switch games physical because Nintendo just has a terrible history with like game preservation and stuff. I'm just like, nope, I'm buying everything on physically. I just don't trust them. And that's like probably going to be the first party like developed title that I'm not getting. Like I have no interest. Like it just is not, I just know I'm not going to play it. Like it, for those that dig it, cool, but it's not for me. And I've also heard like just like from the demo, it might change when it comes to the full game. But like apparently the online is like a mess. So
it is a Nintendo game.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens there. But if someone can like hard sell me on it, then maybe I'll pick it up. But I don't plan on it.
So you didn't realize that all Switch physical cartridges have that self-destruct button in them? That they can just Doug Bowser can flip a switch and they all explode like a Mission Impossible mission. I can't believe no one told you that already. That's a crying shame.
That's why it tastes the way it does.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's like a cyanide pill. You lick it and you die like 10 years later. So
they don't want you to ingest them in case they hit that button and explodes in your stomach. That's awkward for everyone.
Henry, don't let these folks influence your opinion. Let us know, though, what you think of the game. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I'm going to be sold on it, Henry.
We're moving on to the news. And this week, our news is going to be Game Pass focus as it leads us into the bonus round, which is all about Game Pass as well. So 2 news stories this week. Well, actually, from the last 2 weeks. The first one is we continue to hear about rumors about Game Pass on Switch. Phil Spencer, other Microsoft execs, and Xbox are showing Switches on their shelf. And if I look at Cam's shelf in the background, I'm assuming he's working on a Funko Pop project. Is that true, Cam?
It's just my Funko wall. It's just a wall. That's all.
Are you making like a follow-up to the Gears Funko game?
No.
Good to know. I just want to make sure because
that's a fun game.
Yeah, I remember, Mark, you were so excited about it. Todd, hey, be my friend, and I think they stopped making that game.
Yeah, it was short-lived, but it was fun.
Exactly. Well, we're continuing to hear Game Pass rumors on Nintendo Switch, but now we're actually hearing a Nintendo insider shut it down. He's basically saying on TechWriter, saying that this will not happen. He said, this is David Gibson. He asked Matt Piscatella. He said it would make a lot of sense, but I've had Nintendo tell me directly they would not put other streaming services on Switch. And he calls it a lost opportunity. Sure. So I think we've talked about it, Mark. The only way they probably get Game Pass to work is through probably xCloud. Because I do not see them taking 100 games and making sure they can all run on Switch hardware. It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, anytime I've heard this rumor, I assume that people, when they say Game Pass coming to Switch, my brain just automatically translates that to xCloud, because there's no way that Game Pass comes, makes sense unless Microsoft works out some weird subscription with indie games that are already on Switch, or it's a whole other category library or something. It's way too convoluted. So xCloud coming to Switch makes a ton more sense. I would love to see it. I said that from the first time I think xCloud was announced, that a partnership with Nintendo makes so much sense, because you have finally, a portable Xbox basically, and it could be the best portable Xbox because of the Joy-Con. It's, I talked about how great it is to mount my phone to an Xbox controller, but that means that my phone always has to have an Xbox controller somewhere nearby. And I think the Switch, the Joy-Con, I think that just gives it a good enough screen that you can play things, you can still see things clearly. But to me, the Switch could be one hell of a great portable Xbox. And it's not surprising to me that Nintendo's saying no. We still don't have, Netflix, Disney Plus. What's the only streaming thing on Switch?
Hulu.
Is Hulu.
And it's Crunchyroll on there, or no?
I think it's just Hulu.
As far as I'm aware. Hulu and YouTube, I think. And we don't even have
YouTube.
Hulu.
Might be on there. YouTube might be on there.
Yeah, I think YouTube. We don't even have Hulu in Canada, so I got nothing. And it's not like I don't have 24 friggin' devices in my house that can play Netflix. That's not the point. Is sometimes I have the Switch there and it's the easiest thing. There's an old camera saying the best camera is the one you have on you, and that's where cell phone cameras started gaining popularity, is because a cell phone camera is not better than a DSLR, but it's always on you. And I have the same approach for the Switch. With streaming services, and xCloud is now part of that. So it kind of sucks that Nintendo's just basically throwing their hands up saying, nope, none of this. But especially where they, Nintendo used to have like a seal of quality that meant something. And now it's like there's a $10 calculator on there and a whole bunch of other shovelware bullshit that it's like, Nintendo, come on. Like, if Xbox wants to put some quality Game Pass stuff on there, like, open it up and let them, because the rest of your eShop is a steaming pile of dog shit for like 99% of the time. So I don't know. Cam, are you as frustrated with this as I am, or does it matter to you? Are you happy where you have xCloud on numerous devices already?
I think Nintendo not wanting Game Pass or xCloud on Switch makes a lot of sense, and I think it's, like, in their perspective, the right thing to do, and I think it's I wouldn't say it's the right thing for Xbox per se, but it makes a lot of sense. Like, Nintendo wants people to play Nintendo games on their systems, and if you bring Game Pass, you bring xCloud into that equation, their sales are just going to go down. Like, people are going to, like, focus on Game Pass, they're going to focus on xCloud, because that is like a really, that's like the kind of like the future, right? Like, is streaming and things like that. So I personally think that it makes a lot of sense. I never thought that Xbox or like Game Pass, Xbox Live, maybe Xbox Live, like their online, like the online services, just to make their online experience on Switch better, like that I could see being a thing. But like Game Pass, nope. Like, because I don't think that Game Pass makes sense outside of Xbox and PC, because they want people, I mean, the most important thing is that they want subscribers, but they also want subscribers to be playing like where their home base is, which is Xbox consoles and Windows PC, because that is owned by Microsoft. So when I think about, I think that, like, when Xbox and Nintendo became buddy and, like, Banjo came into Smash, like, a lot of people thought that, like, oh, they're like really locked tight, they have a really like super close like liberal relationship in their like services and technology, and I'm just like, I think y'all are overthinking this big time. Like, they might be like, they're friendly to each other, obviously, like they did like that like play together like initiative or something like that, but like expecting the things that people are expecting right now. It's like, I never expected that. Like, people like Banjos and Smash because Nintendo wanted Banjo and Smash, and Phil Spencer was willing to play ball on that. Like, that is literally the end of that conversation. So when it comes to Game Pass, like, if it's not anything that happens on Nintendo, is because Nintendo wanted it first. Like, it's not because someone's just like, hey, let's propose this. Like, 9 times out of 10, you're, 99 out of 100 times, you're going to be like, no. You're going to be shown the door and you're going to get out because Nintendo just does Nintendo things their way. So for me, it's not surprising. Honestly, like, I don't need xCloud on Switch. I have my Switch for my Nintendo experiences. I have my I think the thing is, like, I'm not that big of a mobile gamer in general. So xCloud just is a cool thing that I recognize, but I just don't really mess with it at all because I like to just play on my like PC desk or couch, and I just don't really like playing games on such a small device. Like the Switch is like a good size, and even like playing like now that as I've gotten older, like going back to like 3DS and DS games, I'm like, oh, this is so small. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, if it were to happen, I would legitimately be shocked. If it any time in the future.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting situation because I'd say there's got to be two things there. There has to be a reason why it would be on Switch. Nintendo's going to make money off of it. They're not being there to be nice. So right now, what is their cost of entry? Is it like we get $3 per user a month or something? That's very pricey considering. We know Game Pass at this point is not profitable. Xbox is profitable to a certain extent because of the services and things like that. But Game Pass, they're paying a lot for exclusives and contracts and things like that. So there's got to be cost there. So is it worth it enough for them to have them on their console? And I also say this: I don't know if you're going to get a lot of people that are going to pay $15 a month to get xCloud. That's a barrier right now. That's the only way you can get xCloud right now is paying $15 a month with Ultimate. Unless they make a tier that's $5 a month, says this is the streaming only, I think that's the only way you get people that are Nintendo devoted to pay that price. Because right now, you can pay $20 a year and get Nintendo's virtual console of systems, their online systems, things like that. So I think it's just a weird financial conundrum to say what it's worth. And Nintendo's already playing around with streaming games, but for a full retail price. I think Control is $40 just to stream it. So Nintendo's like, we can make money off of streaming too, but you're going to pay a premium, which may get you more money. So it's kind of an interesting perspective. I think if they're going to go, if Xbox is going to go outside of consoles and PC, I think you're going to get partnerships with Samsung, Roku, maybe Apple devices. I don't know what the relationship is at this point, but that's I think where you go, where it's devices where people out there. But I still think they need a cloud-based subscription service that's not more expensive than Netflix or something like that, because to get people in the door, that's not an entry price. That's like a premium experience, like an HBO Max. So $15 a month, that's kind of a deal breaker.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it makes a lot of sense for Nintendo not to have it on there, but it seems like I said, it seems to me like their quality assurance and their seal of approval of what goes on the eShop has dropped so much that it seems weird that they actually refuse things to me. You know what I mean? Like it seems like it seems like anyone that wants to write a game or a program can drop it on the Switch. So are they actually only going to these big companies and saying like, nah, sorry, not you guys. We have, Garbage Pail Kids 3, coming to Switch next week for $25, and it's a glitchy piece of shovelware. But, we're going to say no to your streaming service or no to this. Business wise makes sense. I just, it's that seal of approval quality drop for me. That's like, so you approved this, but you're saying no to this. It just I don't know. It frustrates me.
Mark, Nintendo won't even give Metroid to Fortnite. So
yeah,
we know where they're at now. Yeah. Yeah, they don't play nice with others. They don't let their stuff go elsewhere typically. They'll be happy to take franchises and bring them onto Switch, but just not vice versa, largely. But the next news piece is kind of interesting. We've had a lot of debate on what's going to happen with Bethesda titles, ZeniMax Studios, all of those titles, and we're continuing to hear about Starfield. This is going to be Bethesda Softworks, Todd Howard's next baby. It's going to basically be Fallout in space. I'm really curious how this plays out. Is it going to look like Outer Worlds? Because we already had Obsidian kind of play in that realm. So I'm curious if it's going to be a lot different than that or do different things. But we are hearing now that this game, Jeff Grubb has confirmed potentially that this game will be shown probably at E3 and most likely will launch in 2022, early 2022, and also be exclusive on Xbox and PC. Is this going to be the first mega game for Game Pass?
Well, that depends if you don't consider Halo Infinite.
Yeah.
Because Halo Infinite has to be great. It has to be a Game of the Year contender. It has to meet expectations, which are extremely high. Because we me and Ryan and the rest of the panel on Unlock talked about this. Like, if Infinite, and here's the thing, like Halo 5, the campaign flopped, but the multiplayer is great. Like Halo 5 is still like a generally good game, I would say, but it's not Halo 1, 2, 3, Reach. Some would argue ODST. It 4 and 5 just were kind of depending on the person you speak to, where it's like a mixed bag. So like Infinite is supposed to be like this reboot. Like, when we saw the gameplay reveal, like it very much felt like, the first time you go onto the ring in the first game, it's supposed to be like that nostalgia, like, this is what makes Halo great type thing. And if that doesn't, that needs to be mega. That has to be their first mega game, because if it's not, then Halo will no longer be like it pioneered like first person shooters in a big way, but like, it's going to be in this position now where that goodwill is going to be gone because of just the past few entries. So, and honestly, I do think Halo Infinite is going to do it. I think Halo Infinite is going to be a Game of the Year contender. I do think it's going to be it's going to be getting 9.5, 10 out of 10s across the board. But there is still always the potential that it doesn't, and so we just kind of have to see where it is. Like after that, it could be Starfield. I think that Starfield is, will be, just knowing what's coming out soon, like, and what has already been announced. I don't really think anything else will come out before spring 2022. We got Psychonauts 2, but that's not like a mega thing. Like, people are going to be excited for it, but and then there's Everwild, which is Rare's new IP, which we still know nothing about. Fable, which I don't think would come out by spring 2022. I don't think either of those games will. So yeah, I would say that after Halo Infinite, I would say Starfield, but I still think Halo Infinite is like going to be the first mega game. Like, Halo is the face of Xbox. It is it's the mascot of the platform. Like, when we were talking about like Halo 3 earlier on that buy, return, or rent game, like Halo 3 like was the face of the 360. That game was like the face of a console. And that's what Halo Infinite needs to be for the Series X and Series S.
Yeah, totally agree.
It's kind of interesting because when Halo last launched a game in 2015, did Fortnite even exist?
Not in the way, not like Battle Royale.
Gotcha.
Definitely not.
And Call of Duty Warzone didn't exist.
No.
Apex Legends didn't exist. I mean, if you can keep, Apex.
I don't think PUBG came out until 2016, I think.
Yeah, on PC. So,
and that was the first one.
Yeah, so if you catch my drift, what I'm saying essentially is there's a generation of gamers that just don't view Halo as relevant any longer. A lot of people continue to play it. They have nostalgia for it, but I just don't know if there's that much strong appeal for modern Halo. And I was looking at the sales of Halo. Halo sales peaked with Halo 3. It's been downward spiral since then. So I think Halo 4 got almost 10 million sales. Then we get down to Halo Guardians, which, they probably around 3 million, somewhere out there. The reason I say is Starfield going to be the mega game is because I got to say that every Bethesda game is probably outsold every Halo game. It's Skyrim. That's why I'm saying it's mega, because this is the first time when you're going to have Halo be available to PC owners at launch. Because I don't think 5 launched on PC. It's not there.
5 still isn't on PC.
Which is crazy. So that's why I'm thinking this is where this could be the biggest game on Game Pass, because it's also going to be on PC. And PC gamers love Bethesda. So I think this game will blow out. It's like a Cyberpunk-sized game, which will, I think, eclipse Halo. So that's why I'm thinking this is going to be the first mega game for Game Pass. If it's the only place to get it, plus you can sign up for it. That's why I'm thinking this game may be the most important game for Microsoft, more so than Halo or Gears.
I think that you have a point there where I'm not going to say it's more important, because I definitely agree with Cam. I think Halo is the game. That's on the box for the Xbox Series X. That's the one. But I think for importance, I mean, you buy an Xbox. We've known about Halo Infinite since before we knew about the Xbox Series consoles. This game, Starfield, is a megaton just because it's probably going to be the first Bethesda Xbox exclusive after that merger. It's going to be a big draw for Game Pass, both on the console and the PC side. This is a game that's going to get PlayStation people to say, shit, I don't want to miss that.
I need a Game Pass. Yeah, I need Game Pass.
If a PlayStation person right now, or even let's say a year ago, 2 years ago, a PlayStation person could have said, well, I've played the Halo games. They're hit or miss, whatever. I'm not going to buy an Xbox just for a Halo game. I'll let the Xbox guys have their Halo games, and I'm going to stick to PlayStation. And that could be fine. But a PlayStation person could look at this and say, well, Game Pass, the Xbox Series S is a kind of cheaper point of entry, and they're getting this big Bethesda exclusive. Yeah, okay, cool. And maybe I guess I'll try that Halo thing. So I think there's, in certain segments, I think this game could be bigger for Xbox than Halo, because Halo is an expected game. Halo is something we've known about. Halo is something that as much as Xbox fans are looking forward to it, it might not bring in a whole bunch of new people right away until it is, game of the year, and you have to play this. You have to get it, right? And then it could draw some new people in. But a Bethesda game is different, and I think I don't think that can be understated. I think that has to be kind of looked at as like, yeah, this is a big get, and this is going to be a big drop when it does drop.
So another quick question about Halo is interesting, because to your point, this is kind of one of the first franchises beyond Nintendo that's tried to exist beyond 3 generations. There's not a lot of Sony franchises beyond Gran Turismo that have continued on every generation.
Ratchet and Clank.
It wasn't on PS1 though.
Right.
But PS2, 3, 4, and
correct.
Now 5.
But this is like Halo from the very beginning, like at the launch. I don't know if there's like Metal Gear is probably the only franchise, but that's not even a PlayStation franchise. So it's kind of interesting that outside of like Final Fantasy and the Nintendo franchises, you rarely see a franchise with that longevity. So I hope Halo can evolve. Combat evolved. Sorry, and continue, because I think it's awesome. But yeah, it's going to be, time will tell, and I hope it's more than nostalgia, and I hope they can deliver, because I don't want Halo to be irrelevant, because that would be a sad thing. But
there's a weird parallel dimension out there where Halo is still a Mac exclusive.
Yes.
And everyone still remembers Marathon.
And I was playing, the Medal of Honor on PlayStation 1 with the DualShocks, thinking this is a cool first-person shooter. Yeah,
nifty. No, I can't wait for both Halo and Starfield. I think it's going to be a good season for Xbox, and I think Game Pass is going to be, well, I mean, it's leading that charge for sure, and we're seeing more and more people catch on to how great Game Pass is.
Well, we don't know if it's great or not, Mark, and we're about to talk through that because that is the topic now. Is Game Pass good or bad for gaming? I mean, I listen to a lot of gaming podcasts. Game Pass is the best value in gaming. I hear it over and over. I mean, I own 3 years of Game Pass, but I'll be honest, have I paid my full price for Game Pass Ultimate? No, I have not. I paid like dollars on the penny to get it. Many people didn't. Many people are $1 for 3 months. Then they got the Game Pass Xbox Live Gold transfer to get 3 years. So we don't know actually how many people are actually paying $15 a month ongoing. But regardless, it's still giving you over 100 games. I think it's maybe up to 200 maybe games a month. Game Pass Ultimate gives you streaming, Xbox Live Gold, games with gold, the PC and the Xbox game experience. Or you can get the standard with Xbox, which just gets you the Game Pass, or PC, which just gets you Game Pass as well. So I experience it on all different levels with cloud and PC, so I get to see all these different variances and how it varies a little bit between the platforms, and I've enjoyed it a lot. But the question is, like I said, is it good or bad for gaming? So the first question to the panel is, does Game Pass change your expectations? Meaning, if a game is on Game Pass, do you value it more or less? Is it more disposable? Is it seem like it's a bigger deal than a 2-year-old game that you probably didn't care about, but now it's on it, so you really care about it? So it becomes a sense of, what does that do to your expectations versus, other games that are releasing at the time?
I think it's kind of like it's situational. Like if there's a game that I want to play that's on Xbox and it's not on Game Pass, I'm not going to wait for it to come on Game Pass. Like, you don't know that's going to come on Game Pass. So I'm going to buy the game, and if it comes to Game Pass later, well, then that's the way the cookie crumbles. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, so there is that aspect. But I think in general, like, it is good. Like, even today, I was just like, man, I still haven't played Shadow of War. I loved Shadow of Mordor, didn't play Shadow of War. And I was like about to like check out and buy the game on Amazon. And I was like, wait a minute, let me see if it's on Game Pass. And then lo and behold, it's on Game Pass. And I'm like, cool, that saves me. It was really cheap. It was like $10. Like, saves me $10. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not like a game I personally care about having like a physical copy of. But like, that is another thing that I'm worried about with Game Pass, is that like, because I do think that Game Pass and like that type of subscription type service is the future of like of gaming. That I don't want that. I'm worried about how that's going to affect physical media and game preservation, because I do think that like that is super important, and to like just be able to have the ability to buy your own copy regardless. Because outside of the first party stuff, the games on Game Pass aren't there forever. Like, it's time. Like, we've seen games come and go, like, and so it's just, unless it's first party, it's just inevitable that you should just like, that you shouldn't rely too heavily on Game Pass. But I do think that just like the ability to try out a game, if you like it and you want to buy it, it's on sale. It's always like all Game Pass games are always 20% off, which is cool. There's just like, there's very little to like harshly criticize Game Pass as a service. But I think that just in the general mindset of like thinking about that type of model being implemented in gaming moving forward, that's just like a thing for like game preservation that I am worried about.
For me, I mean, I think it's great for any of the things that you listed. So length, I think, there's, if a game specifically built to go to a service like Game Pass, I think that, I'm not a game developer by any means. I haven't spoken to any game developers about this, but I would expect that the pressure is off a little bit to create a lasting experience that people will see as worth the value, right? If you're charging someone $60 or even $40 for a game or whatever it is, there's certain expectations about that. And we're seeing that in the conversation about Returnal. We're seeing that, like, is this game worth the full value? It's like, well, that's what they're charging. So whatever, like, suck it up. But if that game was on Game Pass, no one would be questioning that because the expectation's not there. It takes a little bit of that pressure off to say, well, this is included with Game Pass, so I'm going to try out this experience and gauge it on the experience rather than on the money that I paid for that specific experience. So I think in that way, length, it curbs the expectations a little bit. Quality, as far as, like the quality of game, I don't think we're seeing any dip in games. I think just the opposite, actually. I think Microsoft is leading by example here and holding games back and saying, they're not going to launch, even though they're going to be launching in Game Pass, and you might not have to pay full price for this game right now. We're still holding it back because we want the quality to be there. So I don't think it's changing that expectation at all. And as far as reviews, I mean, you can still pay for these games if you want to. You don't have to get Game Pass. It's just allowing people to be a little bit more flexible with how they play games. If you're a physical collector, like Cam's been saying, you can still buy those physical games and have that for preservation's sake. Or, if you're like me and you're mainly digital, then my expectations are I can try out a whole lot more. I don't have to worry about, like, okay, well, this month I, only have this much money for, I could buy one full price game, maybe, where's that money going to go? Or it's Game Pass allows me to be a bit more flexible. So if I want to try out, Psychonauts for a couple of hours, I can do that. And I don't have to worry. That's a bad example because I know it's a good game, but I don't have to worry am I going to like this game? Am I not going to like this game? Can I return it? I played for 2 hours and 3 minutes. Shit, I missed the return cycle, So, I think just that model lends itself to being friendly to developers, to being friendly to consumers. And I think it's a really good change versus every single game has to be a 60-hour experience because I need $1 per hour for the value that I'm putting into that that game experience. It's like I got so sick of that the older I got and the more responsibilities. It's just like, let me have a tiny 4-hour experience, or let me have a 10-hour Resident Evil style experience or whatever. And the more of those you can throw on Game Pass, I'm not worried about what I paid for it. I'm not worried if it's a $60 or $40 or $4 game. It doesn't matter. It's just a game, and I can enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah, it's an interesting experience with Game Pass because game demos are just not as prevalent as they used to be. So on one hand, it's just a way to just experience a game without a financial penalty. It takes away the risk because a lot of indies come out and, like, I would love to try it, but there's so many of them. And it's like, I can't spend $15 and every indie comes out and I may not love it. So, and if we just don't see developers making demos because it takes extra effort and different things like that to get some noise, say, hey, we have a demo, please play us. Mark won't even play the Miitomo demo. And it's free.
Especially that is especially compounded when it's an indie game because a lot, smaller teams and stuff, are you going to take those resources and that time to make a demo for an indie game? And as much as I ripped apart the eShop earlier, there are amazing,
a lot of demos.
Amazing. No, I was going to say amazing indie games.
Oh, sure.
In the eShop. But when it's, 20 amazing indie games all dropping for $30 a pop for a month, it's like I am 100% going to miss 90% of those amazing games.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's, Game Pass again takes off a little bit of that pressure where I can dabble in this one, dabble in that one, try this one out. And that's why I love the weekly and daily and monthly challenges that Game Pass has as well. If you're not doing those, start doing them because it's literally free money. But I love those challenges because I played like Costume Quest 2, game I never would have paid attention to.
Great game.
It was a week challenge. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I didn't mention it in the games I was playing because I knew we'd talk about it here. But I love that. And I only played it because there was a challenge there. And I said, well, frig it. Minecraft Dungeons, same kind of thing. I've played a few games that I don't even have to download now because I can jump on xCloud, play them on my phone, on my iPad, no downloads necessary. And, you know, I'm experiencing so many different games that were never, ever even close to on my radar. But I love it.
Yeah, it's very cool. I think, once again, you don't have to trust reviews. You can try it yourself, which is great. The quality seems to be hanging on there around the 7 and 8s. I would say that's the majority of games are 7 and 8s are fine. What I would say, though, I think the expectation has been frustrating to me because the big thing has always been day and date Xbox first party. The Xbox first party has been a drought. It just has been. It's been Gears 5, Sea of Thieves, Medium, that's an exclusive, not by first party. And then maybe Halo Infinite. We're probably going to get, Psychonauts 2. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to get some day and date, like indie games, which they highlighted, which is great. But you buy a console, hopefully, for the first parties. And right now, Xbox hasn't given us reason to say why the Series X is the best thing in the world because most games are still running on Xbox One. There's not anything pushing the hardware. And right now, we have the fall to look forward to. So that's to me, that's where Game Pass has kind of faltered. And I know like the reason why they've made Game Pass and backwards compatibility their guidance because they don't have anything else. They got other people's games and better looking old games. And that's really
kind of this generation story, though, isn't it? So far, like
it is, but PlayStation has delivered constant games in 2019, 2020, 21.
And PS5 exclusives, though.
Well, I mean, we've got games that are coming out. We did get a couple. We got, we've got Demon's Souls first, and then we've got Ratchet and Clank, Miles Morales, which is, it's a cross. It's not a PS5.
Yeah, it's cross.
But at least it's a Sony game mark.
That's true. I will give you that. No, for sure. PlayStation's had a little bit more up front, but I think with the acquisitions, I think Xbox is going to catch up really quickly. And they're going to have a really great 2022 like first party. They're just going to knock it out. So they're getting people in right now of the, play the old games, come in, get used to Game Pass. It's a great value. And then as like my Game Pass, the whatever 2 or 3 years that I've been subscribed, that ends in 2022. So I think they're going to be coming out that first quarter, Starlink, whatever, like other games, they're going to be the Starfield. They're going to be announcing those games and putting them out in a pace that makes it very hard for me to unsubscribe to Game Pass.
Yeah.
They're going to be saying like, okay, you've been coasting by, you've been enjoying this, but guess what? Here comes the rain, and they're going to open up the skies, and it's going to be some really quality stuff that's going to keep you in that ecosystem. So I think Microsoft's playing a long game here. They're not they're not too worried about putting everything up front because they want you in for a long time.
I hope so, because I'm just tired of hearing that narrative. It's coming. It's been like 5 years since they've really had a banger, which is just like, that's a long time. That's why, like I said, Halo's, Gears, a lot of these games are just not hitting yet. So I'm excited for what they can deliver. And based on the 23 studios, they should be able to put 4 games out a year and get that game going where they got 4 or 5 years to develop a game. So I just want that to happen.
Yeah, but next year is that year. Like next year,
it's gotta be.
All those games that like Everwild, Fable. I don't know about Hellblade. Hellblade's up in the air just because I know that they're doing Unreal 5 for that one. But like all these other games that have been announced that aren't coming out this year are coming out next year. Like there's no doubt about that. And so that's already looking really, really great. And I would disagree. I think Gears 5 was very overlooked the year it came out. I think that was I thought that game was the best looking game to come out last year or that year it came out. That game was absolutely stunning. I think like that game just got a little bit overlooked in that sense. But you're right. Like, I mean, we need to wait and see and get these games. Right now, Xbox, like the best thing about it is Game Pass, and I still think it will be like moving forward. But like that's all there. And the backwards compatibility is also great. But it just doesn't have like the granted few, but still like the PS5 exclusives and things like that. I still think overall, just as a system, I like definitely like if I could only have one system and like knowing what Xbox Series X and like PS5 has to offer, I would still go with the Series X. And just like, because the thing is like I think like the games look best on Series X, and I think that while the load times may not be as quick, like that's not like a deal breaker for me. So the PS5 for me is like more or less to play those exclusives and the PS4 backwards compatibility, because there's still plenty of PS4 games I need to play. But even then, I have my PS4 like on display, like I have a PS4, so that's not really an issue there either. So
I saw a couple of IGN people, or a couple of other people kind of mirror those sentiments today. Justin Davis was one on Twitter. Since the launch of Next Gen, I've done a complete 180, and at this point, I wouldn't really recommend a PS5 to people, not until it has more games. Get an Xbox Series X and sign up for Game Pass. He followed that one up with, I play an Xbox game literally every night and haven't turned my PS5 on in 2 months. Returnal looks great, but it's $70. Game Pass is just...
Wait, Mark, you have a PS5?
No, this is Justin Davis.
Oh, I thought it was you saying that.
No. I'm reading his tweets.
Okay. Gotcha.
Game Pass is just too good to ignore. PS5's library will get there someday, and it will be expensive. And around the same time, even though they didn't plan this out, Zachary Ryan tweeted, the Series X is the first Xbox I've ever owned outright, and goddamn, I'm all in this gen. I feel like I'm making up for lost time playing just about everything on Xbox these days. The functionality, UI, Game Pass, I just really love this little guy. So there we go. Whole bunch of love on the Xbox front. I'm seeing more and more people.
I'm the opposite because I've owned an Xbox all these years. I played all those games on Xbox. I'm like, I'm kind of nothing to play on Xbox to a certain extent, because the games that are in Game Pass are typically 2 to 3 years old, games I probably played before. And like I said, there's no first party games that are really enticing me. So I'm like, Xbox just kind of sits there and plays Outlanders. Outriders. Because I play that and I play Destiny every once in a while. But beyond that, it just kind of sits there and says, give me a AAA game to play that is out there, because and that gets me to kind of like the next point. Does it hurt sales of games then on Game Pass? Because I know for a while the PS Plus experience. Oh, I just bought that, but now it's on PS Plus, and people regret, so they hold off on games at times. And I've heard a lot of people say, I don't think a game's worth $70 because I have a Game Pass. But I'm like, but Game Pass isn't putting out AAA prestige experiences yet. And I hate to think that a game can't be prestige and still garner a sale. I would hate to see that, because I don't think you're going to get Call of Duty on Game Pass. You're not going to get Assassin's Creed on Game Pass because they have their own launchers. They have those things like that. So I try to understand when people say, well, it's not a Game Pass, so that's a deal breaker. I think Game Pass is a great service like Netflix. But Netflix doesn't always have the best movies. So you still want to go out and see movies, have a premiere experience. I think that changes a bit when you can play a premiere experience on Xbox, like next-gen games and things like that. But that's where I struggle, because I think some games are worth that price.
I mean, like, I don't disagree about the idea of like games being worth $70. Like, I paid $70 for Eternal Easy. I'm paying $70 for Ratchet and Clank Easy. Like, I'm not too worried about that. But like, I think that Game Pass, like, I think its catalog is like insane. I think it's incredibly good, and I think it's only going to get better, especially if like you're into JRPGs. There's so many JRPGs on Game Pass that are like, you can get like hundreds of hours of gameplay and like just a few of those titles, and then like, I don't know. I'm just trying to take a look at the at the catalog right now, because it really is just like $15 for what it gives you is just like so good. And it's one of those things where like there's a reality now where like anyone could just like more or less have a Series S and a Game Pass subscription and they're set. You know what I mean? Like they don't have to worry about anything else really.
Yeah, and we're in a pretty privileged position where, a lot of times we'll get games as review games or sent to us or whatever, or we have jobs that support us and support this ridiculous habit that we have, so we can buy games, but as a new dad, money's definitely tighter than it was a couple of years ago, and I appreciate Game Pass for that reason, where I don't have to worry, like, do I have something new to play, or do I have something to play that I haven't experienced before? Can I afford? And in Canada, games, are $80 plus tax. So like a new game for me, like I said 2 weeks ago or whatever, I dropped $92 taxes in on new Pokemon Snap, and I almost bought 2 copies because I'm mentally deranged, but my wife and I both liked playing it, so whatever, I still only bought 1 copy, but some months I can't do that, and sometimes that hurts. So Game Pass is great there, but it doesn't stop me from wanting a new Assassin's Creed game, or a Call of Duty, or something that might not be on Game Pass, or that I want to play right away. And if it's on Game Pass later on, then cool. Other people get to experience this that couldn't afford it, decided to skip it, decided it wasn't in their budget, whatever. So coming from our standpoint, it might be like, it's going to hurt upfront sales of this game because they figure it's going to go to Game Pass later. But like, I appreciate that not everyone can afford every single game when it comes out or when they want to, and that can be frustrating. But Game Pass is there to hopefully help you out. So, I think we've seen that, like, games continue to sell at record sales numbers and continue to do really, really well. So I don't think it is hurting releases, and I don't think it will.
So let me give you an example of something that happened about the same time. Returnal launched at $70. Oh my God, Game Pass, why do we even have this? Pokemon Snap debuts at $60. Oh my God, I can't wait to get it. It's just weird that there's this weird, and I know I'm PlayStation guy, but it still seems like there's this, I guess it's this weird pass we give Nintendo. Nintendo can charge ridiculous amounts to yourself, Mark, that you have to buy 2 copies. So for your wife to enjoy that game, so almost $180 in for Pokemon.
Well, I did buy the cartridge, so we can just swap back and forth
even better
between the 2 switches. Yeah. So that I'm just that broken that I was like, I want to play it at the same time you're playing it, and I have $90 to spare. So my broken little brain's like, just buy another copy. But I stopped that, and I played Game Pass instead on my phone while she was playing Pokemon on the TV. So thank you, Game Pass. You actually saved me a lot of money on a game I already own.
But it's just weird that there is this weird, like, Sony's expected to have Game Pass, but Nintendo isn't. So I just think that this weird, like, Nintendo can still charge $60 for a game and make you charge, you have to buy a separate Switch plus Animal Crossing copy, like almost $360 in to have a second island. It's like, I don't understand the value equation.
The thing is with Nintendo is that Nintendo just has been here long enough that they can do whatever they want. That's like, at the end of the day, that is the answer. But like Xbox and PlayStation are
2 like stubborn bulls that just keep running their horns together and clashing, and Nintendo's like a weird sheep that's humping a tree in the back of the field, and everyone's just like, that sheep's gonna do what it wants.
What's that Pokemon sheep called?
Like, I think Mary
sheep lore.
Murray. Yeah.
Well, it's not even that. It's like the way that I try to explain it is that like Xbox and PlayStation are playing in a sandbox, and like PlayStation 1 and Xbox is like, okay, I'm going to do something else now. But then PlayStation keeps pushing Xbox, in that sense where like Xbox is more than just a console platform now, like it is just a platform, you know what I mean? Like it's on PC, it's on mobile. Like granted, like PlayStation has PS Now on PC, like that's fine, but you don't really like think about those things when it comes to PlayStation. You think about it as it's a console. Xbox is like more than a console now. And so like PlayStation needs to adapt to what Xbox is doing, but Xbox like needs to adapt to what PlayStation is doing in a sense with the exclusives. But Nintendo is like does not care about any of that stuff.
Yeah, they're not even on the same playground.
And we know that they are providing a different type of gaming experience. And when they have like all these like, you know, iconic IPs, you know, you can just not buy the games, but like really you're just hurting yourself in that aspect. You know what I mean? And it's you just know it's not going to change. It's like buying an Apple product. Like, you know that there's a premium price to it, but you know that you're also going to get something more most of the time of quality. You know, like, not gonna pretend that like Nintendo hasn't dropped the ball in some aspects, but like, you know, like the Switch library is insane, and the 3DS library before that was insane. You know, and like Nintendo brings out quality things all the time, and I feel that like more like 9 times out of 10 everyone can play, while PlayStation and Xbox does not provide that. It's just something that everyone knows what Nintendo is. Like, you know, you can ask almost anyone what the Switch is and they'll know what it is. Xbox and PlayStation, it's up in the air. You know what I mean? It's just Nintendo's a household name. It just is. And so when it comes to those type of things, like, you know, like I don't know, like and I feel like I was in the minority opinion when this happened, but like when 3D All Stars was announced for $60, people were like, $60? And I was just like, yeah, $60. You're getting 3 10 out of 10 Mario games for $60. Like, do I agree that? Do I think that the way that they ported these games is good? No, they did some sort of emulation thingy, which is whack. Like, they did like the most laziest way possible. But you're still getting access to 3 incredible games that all, as far as I'm aware, hold up to this day, and you're getting that on like Nintendo's potentially most successful system at the end of the day. That will probably, its next system will probably also be able to play Switch games. Like, when you put in all those factors, like, yes, $60 is worth it. Are you kidding me? Like, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand like the mindset. I don't know. Like,
well, again, like, I'll give a counterpart on that, because the Halo Master Chief collection, they actually improved that game so much and brought up to his second standard, versus those games felt like just ports with a little crispness to them. So I just felt like it was lazy, and like they just said, let's get some ports. I agree. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, for Nintendo, I feel like they've always put the least amount of effort to make the next amount of money. So I just feel like with Nintendo, I feel like they're not always giving value, and you'll spend more money with Nintendo for less games.
But you just nailed it right there. The most amount of money. They're still making crazy amounts of money. And if they didn't, they'd change their tune real quickly. They
convinced everybody that they're the nicest person in the world, where they're taking more money from you for the least amount of games.
That's what I was your Futurama mom comparison, I know.
Exactly.
Here's the thing, though. Like, it's kind of and this is kind of, granted, like, Nintendo is a weird company. We don't know like how that company really works. But like, when you think about also the amount of studios, like first-party studios that Nintendo has, not a lot. And so when you think about, okay, would you rather like have less games coming and then get like a proper like remaster of all 3 of these games in one package, or would you get what we got and then we are still getting brand new games as the time comes along? And it's like, for me, like, I don't think those games really need any like new features or anything like that. Like, and I think that's kind of like the charm of Nintendo. Like, I don't know. I think that I think it's really a case by case basis. And again, like, I don't think that Nintendo, like, I sound like I'm like a Nintendo like apologist or anything like that. But like, because you know,
it's usually my job.
You know, there's some things I think Nintendo does great, and there's some things where I'm just like, I don't get the mindset. But I think that when it comes to most of their games. There are some games like that they ported on Switch where I'm like, why is this $60? Like when Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, I was like, this should not be a $60.
It's the Funky Kong tax.
You know, like there were definitely been games that have come to Switch. I'm just like, this should not be this much money. And there's some aspects where, but again, like they're doing things that I really, really love. Like my favorite Wii U game, Tokyo Mirage Sessions, which is a very obscure JRPG, despite it being first party Nintendo, at least published. That got a second life on the Switch, and like I'm super happy that that game exists on the Switch now. And I've been like, trying to tell people like this is a great JRPG. If you like Persona, like this is like 100% a game that you should play. Like, so I don't know. I think that Nintendo is just a whole in general when it comes to this whole discussion. Like Nintendo is just a whole nother entity that it's hard to like put them into the discussion because they're just doing a completely different thing. Like the Switch is a completely different type of gaming experience than what Xbox and PlayStation want to do, and like they're just their own thing. And I think they've been their own thing. You could say like as early as the Wii. So like it's just I think I'm not saying that like everything that they do is right, but I also think that they're just a whole nother thing, and they just shouldn't be compared to PlayStation and Xbox. PlayStation and Xbox, I feel like there's a discussion there, but even in the Xbox point of view, I think that Xbox isn't thinking about particularly what PlayStation is doing. They're just thinking about Game Pass, getting first-party studios, the things that they know that they're missing to become a success. Like they're not worried about what PlayStation does, but I think that PlayStation is worried about what Xbox is doing, and that's the thing that I'm kind of at right now.
PlayStation's still very much thinking about the box, where I think, Cam, you nailed it before saying Xbox, you can buy their box, and I've said it on the podcast before, they'd love for you to buy their shiny new box, just like they'd love for you to buy a Windows Surface tablet or PC or whatever. 100%. Yeah, do that. That's great. But they also don't really care if you build your own PC as long as you're still using Windows and Microsoft Office. So it's the exact same kind of thing where, yes, please go out and buy an Xbox. That's great. But as long as you're subscribed to Game Pass,
doesn't matter.
Don't really care. So if it is on, like Todd, you said earlier, if it's on a Roku TV, like the one I have in my other room behind me here, or my phone or iPad or Nintendo Switch or wherever, then that's kind of what they want. So I think that's the last thing we'll touch on is where do you see Game Pass going? Is it specifically, is there strategy to get more boxes or is there strategy a little bit bigger? Todd, let's start with you for this one. Where do you see Game Pass going?
Xbox doesn't want to sell boxes because they don't make any money off the hardware. They lose. They even they were on the trial for the Apple trial versus Epic. We have not made any profits from Xbox consoles. That's a loss leader, and they don't want to be there anymore. Every generation they had something going on. They spent too much on the OG Xbox with the hard drive. They had the Red Ring of Death hardware experience that cost them $1 billion. Xbox One with Kinect was just a big waste. And they're losing money on the Series X, maybe on the Series S, maybe. I don't know. They don't want to sell boxes anymore. They want to be agnostic of that and sell a subscription, so they don't have to worry about launching a new box every 5 years. They can sell you a dongle if they want to do that, or get on an app. That's where they want to go. That's where they're going to be. And Phil Spencer said there's going to be announcements of that soon, probably in 20, maybe even at E3, maybe it's a CES announcement. But I see that's where they're going to be because it's just what's holding them back. They want to be on every phone. They want to be on every TV. They want to be in every streaming box. $300 to $500 box is an obstacle to most families. And so that's where they play. They've never sold more than, I think, 80 million boxes, and they sold maybe 40 million last gen. And I don't know if they're going to get there this gen. They're selling very well, but that's kind of where I see them going. And I think it's going to be really awesome because with 23 studios, they essentially can reduce the amount of third parties, take some of that money back and invest back in their studios, and really make it a Xbox-focused service, but still with some games that are part of that service and premium third-party experiences. And we could even see more content added to Game Pass, like PlayStation has, where they potentially are going to add movies and Crunchyroll and things like that. We could see Xbox do other things, partnering with Hulu and other services. We've seen that with some of their extra features.
The Halo show.
The Spotify, I think it was like 4 months of free Spotify, things like that.
The Halo show's coming. Show's coming. Yeah.
Yeah, so I could see that coming to Game Pass as well as, I think, is it Showtime? Paramount Plus?
I think it's Showtime or Stars. I think it's one of the two. I hope you are wrong. I hope you're wrong about. I hope hardware. You're wrong. I hope you're wrong specifically about the box. Like, I don't want them to get rid of the boxes. Like, I understand that they don't make it. The thing is, though, it's Microsoft. Like, Microsoft has like endless pockets. Like it. Like them not making a profit is just like it's whatever, you know. And here's the thing, like that's like just how it is with like all systems. Like I'm sure Sony is not making a profit on the PS5. Like they didn't make it took how long for the PS4 to become profitable? Like
years. I'm gonna ask you a question about that, Cam, because they do have a box. Every PC that's out there. They don't have to have a console connected to a TV. They can have an app for that, and they still will have a box you can play their games on. So essentially, they have both markets covered, and they don't have to spend money on that PC.
But I wanna play on a TV. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you, Kim.
I can do it with my laptop. I just take my laptop over to my PC.
That's too much.
That's a pain in the ass.
Oh, come on, my laptop is no different than docking a Switch. Come on.
And then you're also limiting people that like have to get like a PC laptop and not like a Mac. Like, because I just bought a MacBook, and like while I have a gaming PC, like I prefer MacBook when it comes to the laptop experience. So like for me, I just want to be able to like this is the easiest you've been able to set up a console. Like I think like ever. It's just like plug in and play. Oh, like the app, you just set it up really quick and it's done. Like it was so quick, so seamless. And I think that Xbox has like really mastered their UI, their interface, and like how that honestly it just feels so premium. Like doing everything that I do on an Xbox feels like a premium experience, a premium layout. And I think that PS5 in its own way does that as well. But like, man, like I think like almost every time I go onto either like the PS or the Xbox store or like my library, I'm like, man, this feels so premium. Like just like scrolling through the Game Pass catalog, scrolling through like the library, scrolling through what deals are happening. It's like all of this feels so great and like such an evolution of like what the Xbox One was like, you know. And so for me, it's just like I don't want to lose out on that. And I also just like when it comes to physical media, I don't want that to be taken away either. You know, and I think that both PlayStation or Sony and Xbox want that to happen. They want to eventually get rid of the disc drive. But I think that at least with Phil Spencer in charge, we won't see that happen. For the like if Phil Spencer makes it to the next generation, which I honestly don't think he will, but I think that whoever takes over, hopefully that is in the same of like mind and spirit as Phil Spencer, that like that will not be removed next generation. I think it's nice that there is the option for it, like PlayStation did it, like, oh, here's the digital version, $400, $100 less. Like that was great. The Series S, like it makes sense that's discless is supposed to be like a budget friendly system, you know, with like and Game Pass and things like that to attract Game Pass subscribers. But like I just hope that option is always there.
Yeah, for sure. I have to agree with Cam. I don't think they're going to stop selling boxes. The same thing I just said, you know, they sell Windows Surface PCs, tablets, whatever. And I don't think their hardware division is going to go away anytime soon, but I think they are approaching this the same way that they are with Windows and with Office and whatever. You we just saw Microsoft Teams today. Literally, I read this morning or this afternoon, opened up for not just Teams, for personal use as well. So they're just expanding that, just like they're expanding Game Pass. Office continues to become more robust. Game Pass is going to be the same. And at the end of the day, I think they want you all in their ecosystem, but they also want that flexibility so you can play it anywhere. And that's back to my point. I think they'd love it on a Switch. I'm sure they'd love xCloud on a PlayStation. They want it on your phone. They want it everywhere because they want you in that ecosystem. But I think they realize that the best place to play is when they make their own hardware. So I don't think that hardware division is going to go away anytime soon. I think they're going to keep iterating on the series consoles. I don't think X and S are the last letters that we have. I think we're going to see those, expanded on for the next few years. But I am interested to see what the next letter is, and maybe it will be a little dongle that you hook up, and it's just the xCloud streaming device, and it's the Xbox Series C or something. I don't know, whatever. Series D maybe for dongle. We'll see, but I don't think they'll stop making hardware. But that's kind of where I see Game Pass going, is they want it in everything. Especially with xCloud specifically. Again, anytime I say Game Pass, I'm thinking xCloud because I think that's how they view the future, and they just want that everywhere.
I do think, though, we will see a tiered subscription for streaming only, though. I don't think they can charge $15 for streaming only, because that's a tough sell. Like I said, if they're not going to sell a box, they need to make an entryway to get people like Disney Plus at $6. It's easy. You get people in, and it's not the premium experience. If you want a premium experience, get a box. And that's $300.
Yeah, I think I would like something like that. Like if there was some sort of like dongle where it's just like a streaming only type experience that for those that, a Google Stadia, for lack of a better term, for Xbox, that is cheaper, like $100. They send you whatever you need and the controller.
Yep.
And then you're good to go. That's great. I would, as long as there's still like a console with a disc drive, I am happy. That I could see that happening for sure.
Cam, you're fighting back the digital wave. Nintendo just sold 40% of their software digitally. Nintendo, that's crazy. I think other consoles are 60%, but I hope that happens for you, bud.
Yeah, again, it's like, it's not even for me, because like outside of like, I'm a steelbook collector, so like outside of games that have like steelbooks, or like if I buy like a collector's edition, or if it's a JRPG on Xbox, I normally get most of my Xbox library is digital, but I still just want that option to be there. Same thing with PlayStation. Most of my PS4, I'd actually say it's pretty 50-50 actually, because when I think about the amount of games that are only on PlayStation 4 that are Japanese games that aren't on like Xbox. I do have physical copies of those, but I think I think just in general, my collection is like across all three consoles is pretty equal. Like I would say it's more digital than physical still, because I just have so many digital games on Xbox. But yeah, it's one of those things that I just hope that it stays relevant, at least through my lifetime.
Well, excellent. Well, that is it. Game Pass is going strong. We've got E3 coming up. It's going to be just a rife with Game Pass announcements. I think we're all excited for that. So be ready for that. We'll be talking about all these announcements over the next coming weeks. We cannot wait. So Cam, thank you for being on, bud. You took us. This is longer than normal podcast, but it was just a wonderful time to talk about games with you and Mark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks so much. Yeah, I like to talk long-winded when it comes to things, so apologies for that.
We enjoyed it.
But yeah, thank you so much. It was a joy. It was fun.
Before we let you go, I know you touched on a little bit of your experience, but just for anyone listening, any tips for getting into the industry, and for what kind of would you leave with the people before you tell people how to find you and all that kind of stuff? Are there any getting into the industry tips, things that you've learned? You said you're 2 years into taking this as a career kind of path, so anything that you can distill it down into of is it simply just work hard and shoot your shots when you see them, or is there something else to it?
Yeah. So when it comes to writing, I would just say, just pitch to as many outlets as you can think of. Like, think smaller. Like, you're not gonna get IGN's attention if you're trying to get your start. You know what I mean? Like, I started at Dual Shockers, which was like a, BC tier site. And that's actually like the only main place that I've written for. Networking is super important. Like, interact with the people that you want to eventually work with on Twitter. Like, I'm on, like, the amount of networking I've done in the past 2 years on Twitter has made me go on Twitter more than I want to. Like, it has actually affected my usage of social media. But that's how you get in contact with people. That's how you network with people. Like, a lot of the places, people that I've gotten to work with is simply by interacting with them, and then eventually they're going to take notice of you, and they're going to be like, oh, and they might click on your profile and see oh, you're actually someone that's writing, you're actually someone that's trying to get somewhere, and they'll start talking to you, and they'll give you a follow, and then when you're comfortable enough, you just shoot your shot, and they can say yes, they could say no. But regardless, at least you tried. You got to at least try, because if you're not, then you're not going to get anywhere. So those are the main things. It's just pitch to places if you're a writer. When it comes to, that's all I can really speak of. I can't really say if you're a video editor or any sort of video work. But if you're a writer, or if you're trying to be a host or something like that, you just gotta throw yourself out there, and then eventually, you'll grow in that sense. Try and go to as many conventions as you can. Talk to people there. Try and get on some PAX panels. If you go to PAX, people will take notice of you that way. That's just, it really is a lot of just networking.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I shot Cam a DM, and that's how we're talking today. So, yes, it does work.
Simple as that. Simple as that. And and again, I go on, as long as someone asks me to go on a podcast, I'm like, yeah, I don't see why not, and because I don't know, I just think that if I was new, getting into the industry, and I asked someone that was at the position I'm at now, I would say, I would want them to say yes. So why would I not? I would feel bad if I said no. And I have no reason to say no. You know what I mean? So I'm not, and even so, even if I was at that point where I've been told by people that I'm big enough now where I should start asking for money to go on, from the people that ask me to go on things. I'm I'm not going to do that. I don't, I'm not going to, I just, that feels wrong. And I don't feel like that. I also just don't feel like my brand is where it needs to be to justify that. That's just my own personal thing. When I went on IGN, I was just hey, can I get paid? Because I'm on, the biggest Xbox podcast in the world. You know what I mean? But when it comes to smaller podcasts, I'm not going to do that to that. I'm that's not cool. So it really just it really just depends. But yeah, you guys are doing this for fun. You guys are doing this, as a cool, as a weekly fun activity. And what, I don't know. It just again, it just seems wrong to say hey, can you pay me $50 to come on? No, I'm not gonna do that. It's so yeah, don't do that too. Don't ask for money to go on when people ask you to go on your podcast. Don't, I understand people doing what I do is very inconsistent with the income, but don't be like that. I don't know. I just feel it's not worth it. That's not worth it. So,
right.
So yeah, so I'm happy to be here. It was a great time, and thank you guys for inviting me.
Oh, thank you, Cam. And tell people where they can find you, follow your stuff. You're on Twitter, but where else?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter at CamFinalMix, and then I stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/CamFinalMix. And that's about it. You can find my writing. Well, I only have one piece, but I've been on IGN. I've been on Kind of Funny Games Daily. I've been on GameSpot podcast. I've been on Inside Gaming, but they're not really a thing anymore. Rip to them. And then I've been on Spawn on Me, which is it's a podcast that like helps highlight like diverse voices in the video game industry, regardless of like what you do. And it's a really great. Khalif Adams heads that podcast, and he's like literally like my industry dad. Like he's super, super kind dude. Like how he is on the podcast, if you ever listen to his podcast or you ever see him on his streams, that is exactly the person you will like interact with in real life. He is just 100% a genuine person. And like he's great. He's absolutely great. So yeah. So just follow me on Twitter, and I post everything that I do on there. So that's the best place to reach out to follow me and stuff.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Follow Cam. Check out what he's doing. He's doing some great stuff, and there will be more greatness to come.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Well, Mark, tell everyone where they can find us.
Well, you can follow us on Twitter as well, at Secret Friends U, or personally at @the_Canardian for me, or at @Oxtra for Todd. You can subscribe to us on YouTube and podcast services around the world. Make sure to leave us a little 5-star rating. It helps us be found. And if you'd like to support the show and all the stuff we do, we have shirts and other various items on sale over at TeePublic. We've got some exciting things to announce pretty soon, so that kind of stuff helps us with the stuff that we have on the go. I won't say anything more than that, so that's where I'm going to leave it, with a big mystery at the end. Woo, mystery.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Cam. And remember, folks, It's always better to game together.
Než 100, povím ti, je to strop.
Koupím si Gamepass, pak klidně druhej, ať ostatní gameři čuměj.
Další nabídky nemají cenu, já si Gamepass znova. Kup si Gamepass. Kup si Gamepass. Hraj Xbox. Kup si Gamepass. Kup si Gamepass. Kup si Gamepass, je to pecka, dávno už to nehrajou jenom děcka.
Nekupuju CD, jak jiní hráči, na půl roku Gamepass úplně stačí.
Všichni kámoši pěkně čuměj, marně tě doháněj, když dělají co uměj.
Soupeři si neví rady, Xbox má jen samý klady.
Xbox neděluje,
Jak Santa Claus,
je to tady, Gamepass in the house.